disgusting.
This is me.
Wow.
Oh, man. It's going to be a fun show today. What is up, everybody? Oh, no parents, no rules. Adam's gone. Harrison is, he's getting divorced, so he's got to sort through the paperwork. I'm just kidding.
Tough.
He's on his honeymoon. So I'm joined by the homies. To my left, it's Superstar Dev.
You know, like this chair, I just feel a little bit powerful. It feels like
It's a
I'm the
throne,
center
dude.
of attention. I could be in that one, and that one's probably the most powerful one, but this one feels like it today because I'm not next to that guy.
Wow.
That guy in mention is Eric Weedham, also known as Eric Co.
Are we positive he wasn't pointing at Ryan?
Yes.
Okay. Screw you, Dev. Also, you're right. No parents. You know what I've had today? I've eaten nothing but a handful of sugar.
Yeah, well, Breakfast Corner comes after the instructions, but and then down at the end, not from Denver Stiffs, but full-time, Mile High Sports, covering the Nuggets, it's Ryan Blackburn.
Hi, guys.
How are you, man?
It's good to be here. I'm really excited. This is currently the second show that I've replaced the esteemed Adam Marius on today.
Oh.
No one's
I
complained.
feel like that's a good niche for me.
No one's complained.
Are you bragging?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Please
course
tell
I
me.
am.
Please tell me one of them was like a court date or something.
Oh, yeah. No,
Okay.
I replaced Adam. Actually, at his house.
Picked his kids up from school.
Yeah, I mean, hey, somebody's got to do it.
Wow.
Okay, and now it's time for Breakfast Corner.
don't
Dad,
know
what'd
what
you
that
have for breakfast today?
A breakfast burrito.
Me too.
I had to
Oh,
do
so
it. I had
sick.
no choice. I had to give in. It was so good, too.
I had a great burrito.
Yeah, dude. I heard you say that you were avoiding starch.
I know.
But can I ask you something? Mm-hmm. Why?
Why
Dev,
did I
you're
get one?
perfect. You're perfect as God made you.
Thank you.
You
See.
eat as many potatoes as are put in front of you because you couldn't get any worse.
There, see.
You're perfect.
Hold on, I couldn't get any.
Yeah, hang on. The way that was framed. So, Eric, you had sugar for breakfast? Do I
Not
have that
really.
right?
You're judging over here?
That was a bit. I didn't.
Oh,
really-
okay.
that's what a child does when they're left alone.
Well, Hank said rice yesterday. He had a bowl
yeah.
of
Today,
rice.
today I ate a packet of unflavored Kool-Aid. And had a handful of sugar, a couple of gummy bears, and 7 Sour Patch Kids.
Midlife crisis, fair or unfair?
I
Or?
was just going to ask if
I
everything
wouldn't.
is okay.
I wouldn't say it was a crisis. It's just more like a tailspin.
Yeah, all right, fair enough. That sounds about right. Well, listen, with no Adam and no Harrison, there was an empty seat on this set, and I wanted to fill it with a good friend of ours, Ryan, who, look, you've talked about this a good amount now publicly. Just going to ask you to do it again.
Sure, yeah.
Tell us about the new venture, man.
Well, everybody knows that I love talking about myself.
That's right.
I very selfully
Raging
wanted
narcissist.
to spotlight. Vanity is my middle name.
Yeah, you did replace Adam.
I really did.
Wow. No one has ever filled shoes so snugly.
Man, that's wild. But no, I as you guys know, I've been doing pickaxe and roll for a little bit here, and I've been partnering with Nate Lundy over at Mile High. And he and I have developed a really good friendship, really good relationship, and I came to him eventually, said, hey, I want to go full-time for this. I really want to be here, and I want to stay local. I didn't know if I was going to be able to stay local.
Yeah, man.
Actually, I was a little bit worried about that, and I've got a lease coming up. I've got a whole bunch of I got health insurance that I got to think about. It's crazy. So I really wanted a full-time gig, and I pushed him hard for it, and he relented, and it was great.
Let's go.
Let's go.
Oh, see, the crazy thing is, so me and Vogt also were a part of Mile High Sports. This
That's
is
right.
like when your grandpa like just gets older and the next generation comes when you have kids, because it's like it wasn't that way for us, and then it worked out. So he's gotten better throughout time, and I'm glad that you got that experience.
Absolutely. And Brandon Ewing, who's replacing me
Shout out
as
Skip.
the site manager, shout out to Skip. He was also at Mile High Sports. So
That's right.
Everybody here has sort of been connected. Everybody here in the local market
Almost
has been connected
everybody.
we separated for you for a reason.
Eric just hangs out.
But yeah, no, we
Can't get rid of him.
I think it's great that we have a good friendly relationship locally. You guys are my friends. I very much appreciate our times and our talks, and I'm just happy to be on the show.
Yeah,
Sure, man.
you know what I, as an outsider, learned very early is that nobody cares about what media thinks about other media.
Yeah.
Everybody just wants to hear what people read and write or whatever. They don't care. They don't care about what
Our beefs.
whatever. It's the most annoying thing that exists on this earth.
Oh, us caring about ourselves? Well, I'm
No,
glad you
just
brought
like
that up, 'cause
beefs.
I have got another conversation for Ryan personally. No, I mean, it's you are in that time too where, you come out of college, You grinded for this with Denver Stiffs. It's a scary time. Like, there are not a lot of gigs in this industry. You don't know if you're going to get to stay in Denver. So I just wanted to say, thrilled you're sticking around, man. Thrilled we can have you in the studio.
I got lucky, and there's no other way to say it other than that I got lucky. At the time that I came back for my senior year and was kind of in between, okay, I don't know what I'm going to do with my future. That was when you and Adam went to DNVR. And so that was a part of my life where I was like, I have no idea what's going on. And now, 3 years later, I was kind of at the same boat. So I got lucky. Nothing but respect for Adam. Nothing but respect for Nate Lundy, who I'm going with now. And I'm sad to leave Denver Stiffs. I was there for 6 years, guys.
Yeah.
Like, it was. I was told I wrote 1,700 posts.
Yeah. Can I tell you something?
In 6 years.
Can I tell you something?
Yeah.
You are not lucky. You've worked your ass off.
Yeah, that's true.
You have made your own luck. I'm really proud of you for that. Like, a lot of people don't really understand that dreams are attainable, but not for free. And you have exhibited very clearly that this is an industry you want to be a part of, and you have put the work in, and it's been awesome to see. You know, you love to see people get rewarded for hard work. So congratulations to you, my friend.
Well, thank you. I really appreciate it, guys. And thank you for letting me be vain about myself. It's great.
No,
Yeah,
dude,
well,
hey.
actually, I got a little bored at the end.
Yeah.
That's okay.
That was coming.
I understand.
And honestly, at the beginning, too.
I was bored throughout that whole process.
Oh, great.
A lot of moving pieces in the market. Times are changing, but the name of the game remains the same. We're covering the Denver Nuggets, and we're hoping to see them win a title sooner rather than later. And as I think many people are coining this, the most important offseason in team history, is upon us. So we will find different ways to sort of explore our perspectives on this offseason in this episode. But first, I want to do that through the lens of a trade rumor. Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report. Fisher has good information. He was the guy who first had Denver sending Gary Harris for Aaron Gordon, so he was all over that. This rumor is a bit weird. The headline kind of makes it seem like OG Anunoby demanded a trade. He did not. The actual report clarifies that there's just some conversation about maybe he and the team having different perspectives on what his role is in Toronto, and that's amplified by him being a guy a lot of teams want, a lot of external interest in OG. So the Nuggets aren't specifically mentioned in this report, Ryan, but I figured it would be a good launching block for this conversation. Is that the type of trade that Denver needs to have its eyes on? And with the asset cabinet looking the way it does, is that the type of trade that they even could get in on?
That's probably the main sticking point, right? Is OG Anunoby is a fantastic player, and there's a reason why he wants a larger role. There's a reason why it seems like he might be a little bit disappointed in how things went with Toronto, with Scotty Barnes kind of being the new belle of the ball there. I'm not surprised that he's looking for a larger role, similar to get Jeremy Grant. Like, he's another guy who wanted to step up as kind of the first or second option, and I don't think that OG is going to get that kind of role in Denver, but I know you're not speaking specifically about him.
Right.
To the point of the question, yeah, you want to try to shoot for the moon in some of these cases. I think when you're looking for elite role player types,
Right.
he's the type of guy that you're looking for. A guy I coined last year was Derek White, not necessarily of that same caliber, but look, he's in the NBA Finals right now.
Right.
And there are a lot of types of pieces like that if you're willing to get aggressive, if you're willing to go out and take a risk, then Denver could potentially get in on that kind of market. And I think that that's probably what they should do.
Can you move that mic a little closer to your face?
Of
We do it
course.
live. We do our troubleshooting live.
So, I'm curious, though. OG Anunoby, does Aaron Gordon's presence, I mean, can he play the three? Can he provide perimeter defense that is so sorely lacking for this squad? Like, a big defender, just in general, a guy with length that can stretch the floor, that can knock down threes. I mean, obviously, like, OG Anunoby, that name is just so triggering for fans.
Yeah.
So, like, I like the idea sort of like bringing it back just to sort of like make right what was wrong. Like, I definitely feel like we should try to get Donovan Mitchell, Rudy Gobert, and OG Anunoby this offseason. But, like, does he really have a role?
To me, I'm just sort of trying to get at, some people have do you think Denver's going to get big, get aggressive this offseason?
No way.
And I guess when I'm trying to think of what trades could look like to improve the team, it is a elite fifth or sixth type of guy that helps you build multiple defensive lineups. Not so much necessarily that he right now makes as much sense as he once did, but when I'm thinking of how does Denver improve, is it these types of players, Dev, that they need more of on their roster?
Absolutely. I think that he is like the perfect fit when you think about what Denver needs. They need another guy that's going to be defensive and is going to be a lockdown guy that they can just put on any player in the league, where now you have two guys in Aaron Gordon and in him. And then also you ask if he could play that 3. If you just, of course, it's like a hypothetical scenario, but you just insert him to where Will Barton is. Mm-hmm. Does he make the team better? And how much more does he make the team better? Which is, like, I think it's night and day. And this is already a team that I feel like is a team, a contender. And then you could get a lot better with that. So I think that you do need to be aggressive in those type of regards. And he's coming from a team where, like you just talked about, Scotty Barnes is the exact same player. They have Pascal Siakam, that's kind of the same player. They have a lot of people doing the exact same things, where he's like looking around like, hey, a lot of other teams do want me. A lot of other teams do need me. I am a player that's going to be around this league for a long time. I want more. So it makes sense for him to want to make that move. I feel like he makes any team better.
Sitting in Adam's seat, I'm going to fill his shoes a little bit and try to trade a beloved Nugget. Not actually trying to trade them, but just the conversation. When you think about what Denver has in terms of the offensive firepower, how dynamic they can be when everyone's healthy. If it comes down to what it takes to get in OG or player X of this ilk, if it takes throwing in a, Monte or even like a Bones, that is Denver there. Is Denver there? And there again, not this trade specifically, but do they have to have these tough conversations with themselves, Ryan?
Oh, they have to have tough conversations. There's no doubt. Like, I think what we've realized over the course of these past 14 months or so is that the Nuggets have to be aggressive. There is no way that they are going to win a title unless A, they are fully healthy, B, they upgrade their defense, and C, they take risks.
It's literally only A.
Yeah, and like they've got to. They have a lot of stipulations they're going to be needed in order to compete for a title. And one of those stipulations is you can't get too tied in with your guys, because Denver has a lot of their guys.
Yeah.
There's a lot. Like, there's a lot of guys that they've drafted. And I think of the two that you named, Monte and Bones Highland, there's a question about their fit. There's a question about their long-term projection with the team. If you can have one of those guys kind of be not used, but like a stepping stone to the byproduct of a guy that fits. I think two guys that I would name, Malcolm Brogdon, Bogdan Bogdanovic. Those are two types of players. I think maybe a little bit smaller than OG. Maybe they can play the 2 as opposed to be a 3 or a 4 like OG is. But that's kind of the range that we're talking about. And you can't get those guys, or you probably can't get those guys, without including a valuable asset.
Right.
Like a Monte, like a Bones.
Right.
Ooh, yeah. Also, if we're talking OG, like, do you really want... Like, I don't want my team to trade with Masai Ujiri.
Yeah, no, that's a good point.
That's a scary one.
I don't want that to be part of what our plan is. That sounds like a bad plan.
It's a trick every single time.
It's like a total trick.
But again, like I guess the reason why I found this interesting is just, I think that is kind of the ceiling on what Denver being aggressive at this point looks like.
Yeah.
Those max contract guys are there. So, and that's the other thing. There was a time where Denver had so many routes to reshuffling the deck or obtaining other assets. And I think as they've improved, also that just sort of trove of assets has dwindled. And now it's to the point where if you are going to get a guy that you feel for sure moves the needle, it may take those tough conversations of guys they already love here in Denver. Their guys. I think that was a good way to put it.
Well, the last second round pick that they hit on was Monte Morris in 2017. I'm not considering Jared Vanderbilt a hit because he was gone. He's immediately moved. And those are the kinds of guys, the second rounders, the undrafteds, are the kinds of cheaper guys that help restock the cupboard. They're the ones that like Toronto, for example, has really hit on, that have made it so that they can make some of these kinds of moves, stay really aggressive, and continue to compete for playoffs and titles in that way. And I think that if you're Denver, you've got to hit on the margins. There is no way you are going to win a title unless you hit on those margins, and those margins are what help you trade for an OG Anunoby. They're what help you trade for a Malcolm Brogdon or a Bogdan Bogdanovic or somebody like that, and that is what's going to get Denver over the top. It's pretty simple.
Yeah. God, I wonder what Will Barton's trade value is these days. Because like, if you're asking a Nuggets fan like what he's worth, it's like everyone's so low at him. But I wonder if that's true of everybody in the league if they look at Will Barton the way that the Nuggets.
Well, there are two. I think that's a great point. There are two ways to look at it. First of all, he's on an expiring, right?
Yeah.
So that's
the big one.
That's the thing about that Barton extension. I know maybe some people felt, well, like this thing has run its course, but they didn't handcuff themselves into more
not at
Barton.
all.
He's actually kind of more of an asset now. And it's the 14-15 mil number. Like that's a nice little chunk of an expiring contract right there. And then the other thing is that it doesn't feel like it for us because of the role that he needed to play, because of how everything fell off defensively. But just statistically, as an offensive player, as a role player, if you look at his season,
15 points a game.
there are other fan bases around the league that are talking themselves into that kind of guy. Now, for Denver, we have context for maybe why it's time to move on or not, but it's that I don't think every other fan base or every other front office would view him as like dead weight.
Yeah, he's like almost the exact stats as Bogdan.
I feel like being in Nuggets media and also in a spot of DNVR where you're around fans and hearing from fans on a daily basis as well, Nuggets fans that is, it makes it very difficult to see a player like Will Barton and what he's viewed as from opposing fan bases, because like you said, 15 points a game, that's a good number. Bogdan is like a player that everyone talks about and they're so high on, that is doing the exact same thing as the guy that you have.
Right.
But since you see him so often, since you're around him so much, you're like, okay, this has run its course. This is done. This is not productive. In every way it is. So I think that it just becomes like really difficult. And that's what a good question from Eric is. What does everyone else think of like Will Barton, especially now that the contract is starting to make sense for teams? Of course, they weren't going to make a push for it earlier because it would have cost a lot more, but now you're not costing as much, so it's like, okay, now let's take a look.
Like, would you trade Will Barton for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope?
Yes.
Yeah, because I think that's what Denver needs more. I honestly don't think it's that the latter is in a vacuum just a better player. I don't.
You're not giving up a first for a guy like that. That's not the margin in this conversation, right? But I think one of the reasons why Nuggets fans in particular are willing to move on is because when you see Jamal coming back and you see Michael Porter coming back, I think what we've seen from this team over the course of these last few years when they're healthy is that the offense is never going to be an issue.
No.
They're always going to be dominant, and you don't necessarily need that fifth guy to be a knockdown shooter that can do a whole bunch of secondary playmaking, which kind of argues against my Bogdan Bogdanovic point. You probably need a defender. You probably need somebody who's more versatile, and that's not Will right now, which is okay. He can fill a different role for another team. Right. I think a lot of people would probably view him as like a low-tier starter, maybe a high-tier backup.
I mean, your fifth starter, your sixth.
Yeah.
I mean, he's literally a starter.
Yeah, 15 million is not overpaid for a guy like that.
It's not.
That's crazy.
That's the thing.
I know the thing with Will Barton is that I feel like the reason why it feels like he's run his course is really just his relationship with the fan base.
That's part of it. There's the declining physical aspect. And then just, I do think there was a year there where after the trade, everything was great. Like the balance they had there was great. But as the physical sort of aspect of Barton's game continues to trend in one direction, and you see the emergence of a guy like Bones, you do, or at least I start saying, okay, do they need more firepower or do they need more defensive versatility and prowess? And there's a great comment from Joshua Wallace here that says, honestly, he hates all this trade and have to be aggressive talk. People said the same about the Warriors for years. They stuck with their guys, continue to draft and develop. I get it. I get it. Why I bring all of this up is this is just sort of the offseason that we're at. No, this is the offseason we're in though. If the Nuggets are going to try to reshuffle the deck at all and improve, we're no longer talking about RJ Hampton's on the move. It's gonna be a Barton or a Monte, and hopefully not, and I don't expect it to be a Bones, but just that type of thing. We're in the tough decision era.
Yeah.
I'm with you.
The thing that if I could play devil's advocate,
nice. Well, that's
if I could play Adam Mares.
Oh, okay.
What I mean. We are kind of at a play. So, I don't. You're familiar with the Nuggets?
Yeah, I dabble.
Okay. So last year, two of their best players were hurt for most of the year.
That's true.
Yeah.
And it really hurt how good they were as a basketball team. previous to that, they were very good as a basketball team until those players got hurt. Now those players are coming back, so they should be good again, right? Like you get nervous. You get nervous when people feel like there is desperation simply because of the clock of the NBA season. Like it is the off season, moves must be made. But like if you were able to acquire Jamal Murray and Michael Porter Jr. this off season, you'd be like, wow, you really made that squad a lot better.
Sure.
I don't think there's any question that this is a top 5 group when healthy.
Right.
I think there's a difference, I think, between saying, okay, we have enough versus we have the right mix. And when you're talking about the talent perspective, there's no question. But I think what we saw with this last series against Golden State is that they tortured Denver. They absolutely kicked Denver's butt
they torture
offensively.
everybody now.
Denver has the worst defensive rating of every team in the playoff field.
Yeah. Right.
And they're getting back Jamal Murray and Michael Porter. They're not getting back OG Anunoby and prime Danny Green here from a defensive standpoint. They need somebody who's going to lock down.
They need exterior defense, no question.
If you're talking about the avenues to get better and you
Right.
don't want to trade Bones and you don't want to trade Monte, I think there's just a natural pecking order that you have to go down.
Yeah,
Definitely,
to me, it's just Barton.
Well, but I think it's interesting too. Is
You know what I mean? Like, not he's just the problem, but like that's the piece they should look to.
No,
move.
that's exactly
like,
it.
They should be wary of clearing out the cupboard too much and being too knee jerky in this way because they, as you say, like the piece that we're talking about is not a premier piece,
Right.
Like, and so they should not give up premier, I believe, assets to fill that space. They should just find like a different guy that is better on defense.
Yeah.
Would that be viewed as aggressive though?
Well, that's just it. Like, there's this idea that you have to be aggressive, and I don't think they have to be. Aggressive to me is like a team that's like looking to, like the Jazz have to be aggressive. Like they are spiraling into Nowheresville.
Forest fire.
Yeah, they have to like make really difficult decisions. Like the Portland Trailblazers had to make really difficult decisions because their hypothesis had run its course, and we have not. And
That's true.
like,
No, absolutely true.
so it's like you don't like you want to fill in the sides, but you have to be wary about being too aggressive in these situations.
I think it's precise, not aggressive.
Yes,
that's
precise.
probably the way, like, because you have to get it right. And if you don't, like, you don't necessarily have to take a hammer, but you got to use a chisel. That we're trying to craft the statue here in terms of, okay, this is the statue of David. You're not going to take a freaking hammer to that statue. You have to find the right tool.
All right.
Which
Oh, man.
I'm
To craft that beautiful piece.
I love Roman architecture, guys. That's my jam.
Do you think that that a statue is architecture? Is that what we just learned?
I think that it's part of the architecture. Yes,
Absolutely
yes.
not. It's called sculpture. Anyway, next, architecture is a building. We'll get into this afterwards.
Okay.
I thought that was a good segment. Good conversation.
It was
Do you have
good.
any?
Can we bring up the mail form quarter?
Yeah, the Roman architecture graphic. Deb was in charge of that.
Well, you're a
Second
son of a
last
bitch.
show.
Kale, you're a son of a bitch, and none of us here like you.
Dev, have you been able to watch the Nuggets, Avalanche, and Rapids games this year?
Only at the bar.
Only at the bar. It's been tough. Yeah, you have to basically go to a sports bar or
You get
Evoca TV because Evoca TV has services like, I don't know, Altitude Sports, AT&T Sportsnet. Does that sound appealing? A lot of people in Colorado couldn't watch their favorite teams for some reason, but this service is now available in Denver and Colorado Springs. So get yourself tapped back in to the Colorado Avalanche as they chase the cup, to the Denver Nuggets as they enter their most important offseason in team history and chase their own trophy eventually. How do you get Evoca TV? You go to evoca.tv/DNVR. That's evoca.tv/DNVR and use the promo code DNVR. You'll get $10 off your first 3 months. That's only $15 per month for the first 3 months, plus the receiver. No contracts, no hidden fees. And here's the kicker. We're on there. There's a DNVR channel, so you can watch all of our live content there. We're going to continue to fill up that channel with programming, hopefully get it 24/7 eventually. But
Bro, I need some time off.
if you're rocking with Evoca, you're rocking with DNVR. No, dude, it's just going to be online with D-Line like all week.
Do you guys see my sweatshirt? I'm officially a Colorado Avalanche guy. I've been a Colorado Avalanche guy.
Yeah, is this a late evolution? I'm
No, I
confused.
just here on the show I'm representing, and then I showed this to somebody who doesn't know anything about the team or live in this country, and they thought it was something that signified my allegiance to the Illuminati.
Oh,
I can understand that.
yeah.
So-
I think it's a great logo, though. I honestly do. Like it's a very clean.
It's fucking
logo.
great. It's a great logo. Also, a little Illuminati-esque.
It is a little. And if there's anyone that gives off like real underground influence vibes,
Yeah.
Yeah, it's you. It's you, buddy.
Yeah. That's fair. That's fair.
Dev, are you ready for the NBA champs to be crowned?
I'm so ready for game one.
Game 1. That's tonight, right? It is? Tonight?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought. Join the finals action with DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. New customers can make any $5 NBA bet and get $150 in free bets in stot law. Looking to turn another small bet into a big payday during the NBA finals? With the DraftKings same game parlay, you can do just that. Create your own parlay by combining multiple bets, like which team will win, total threes made, under on Tatum points, and boom, you have a shot at an even bigger payout. Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app right now. Use promo code DNVR. Make any $5 bet during the NBA Finals and get $150 in free bets instantly. That's promo code DNVR only at DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NBA. Must be 21 or older. Colorado only. New customers only. Minimum $5 deposit. Restrictions apply. See DraftKings.com/sportsbook for details. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-522-4700. And we're back.
Oh, great.
Brendan, I want to point out a comment to you. Who is tallest in Nuggets media? Adam Ryan Vogt. I think this person is it's giving you a lot of credit for being in that conversation.
That feels like me throwing Tatum in an MVP conversation.
I have to look up at Adam like this.
Yeah.
Like there's Adam is like 6'17".
Adam's disgustingly tall.
Yeah.
He's 6'6". Come on.
No, but like you sit, like I'll be at
Jesus
lunch,
Christ.
like a good 14 feet away from Adam, and he's playing footsies with me under the table somehow.
Well, that's because he has bad body control.
That's true too. He's a bit awkward and gangly. I hope he's not watching
I
this.
hope he is. Adam, get control of your fucking huge body.
We've had enough, dude. Rein yourself in.
Right, dude.
Okay. What did I write down for segment 2? Oh, that's right. Offseason coming up, as we've talked about. Ryan, much has been made of the departure of Tim Connolly, but I want to talk about looking forward. And this is the hardest question for any of us to answer. There's only so much insight we can have into this particular question, but just sort of general notes. What are your expectations for Calvin Booth stepping into the decision-making role?
It's a tough one, right? Like he has been around for 5 years. I think that's something that everybody should understand, is that he's 5 years has been a long time that he's been the assistant GM under Tim Connolly. Or he was the assistant GM and then was promoted to GM after Arturas left. So he is very familiar with what the Nuggets like to do. He brings some of his own flavor, but he also is very much a part of what they were doing before. So I think it's mostly the same. And I honestly think, I think one of the things we're getting to here is he's seemingly a little bit more aggressive, is kind of the word on the street. Not necessarily as tied down to the players that he specifically drafted,
Right.
as somebody like Tim Connolly might be, or he specifically traded, because ultimately Calvin did not make those deals as the final call. So I think there is some part of me that is hoping that he can bring a fresh eye and a fresh perspective into each individual relationship for these players on the Nuggets, and be like, okay, is this part of the championship vision? And then evaluate and say, okay, is this good? Great. Is this bad? Great. And then take that where it will.
Does that sort of jive with how you're expecting things to go?
Absolutely. I think the biggest thing for Calvin is to be who they want him to be. So being the aggressive guy and being okay with being the aggressive guy. So rather that means like being in the draft and trying to go after people, or like having to make those type of decisions of a Bones Highland or a Monte Morris.
Right.
Just because, the fan base loves him and, that's your guy, you still have to make a decision that makes the team better, because that's your job and being that part of that job. The one thing that I think is very difficult for him is he is bringing back a lot of guys, and he's seen them like when they were actually like at their peak, but not long enough. So like he has to make those type of decisions, but you have the core that's already there. Now make it better around that. So is Monte part of that core? Is Bones part of that core? Like, you want them to be in that, but also they're not the actual core when you talk about like the money that's given and who you want to build around. So he has to field the best team possible, and I feel like you have to do that right now with the like regime change.
Tim told us on this show, Eric, that he does not separate, or he has a hard time viewing these players as just assets. and not people and not relationships. That can be hindering for a GM. A lot of GMs specifically or explicitly avoid that approach for this reason. Do you think it can be a benefit, as Ryan said, a fresh set of eyes and perspective, just sort of looking at where they need to go from here?
Here's what I know. Here's what I know is that Tim Connolly does things differently than everybody else in the league, and he has assembled a very good team that has a very unique culture that appeals to a player like Nikola Jokic very much, and a guy that values relationships and trust and things that are not necessarily motivating to other people in the league. It's sort of like the perfect combination of personalities that have created this environment in Denver, Colorado. Calvin Booth has absolutely been part of it, but the thing is like this. I keep saying this, like we are now presented with an element of chaos. Like we don't know what it looks like when a different finger is on the final button, making because he will never make the same decisions as Tim Connolly because he's not Tim Connolly.
Right.
Like he could, you work with a guy for a long time and then you take over at Denver Stiffs and it's different than it was when Adam was there. It doesn't mean it's better or worse. We don't know. I mean, like you obviously made Denver Stiffs much worse. We hope that what we hope
that
is,
one's clear. Yeah.
What we hope is
Drop off
is that the Denver Nuggets. Man, I'm such a jerk. It's unbelievable. But you know what I'm saying? Like, we just don't know, man. Like, I obviously, like, I've met Calvin Booth several times. He seems very, like, competent. Like, he's definitely Tim Connolly. I trust Tim Connolly's decision-making, and he decided to bring Calvin Booth in. So, like, that is already, it feels good to me. I'm just nervous, man, because we are in this place where we are primed for a position where we can actually, if health falls in our way, that we can actually really strike in a real meaningful way. And so we've talked about this a lot. I hate that this is happening right now. It could be a great thing. Like you're saying, it could be, it could absolutely, like, we have the guy, it could be a Mark Jackson to Steve Kerr situation in the front office. It could be just a slight philosophical change that propels the foundation of what we have into the next stratosphere. That is what I'm hoping for.
Yeah, I mean, I think, look, we're all disappointed by a general approach from ownership, but excited for Calvin. Definitely want to draw a distinction between being bummed about the way Tim left and thinking that Calvin can't do this job. The Nuggets are extremely confident in him. Of course, they wouldn't tell us otherwise right now, but they are. That's why they brought him in. That's why they got him ready for this role. And I do think Tim's general approach will pay dividends, as I understand it. While he is ultimately the decision maker, he was a collaborative type in the front office. And I would imagine that Calvin's voice and influence has been heard and exerted and digested within this organization already. So move now from expectations to wish list. General philosophies, Ryan. I mean, I definitely get the sense that you are eager to see some changes. We talked about KCP. Just sort of, I mean, it's such a broad question. Take it however you want. But what are you hoping to see from this offseason?
Yeah, if there's one overarching thing that I think Denver needs to do, it's they have to revamp their wing position. I kind of separate Denver's. I separate their position groups into guards, wings, forwards, and bigs. And I would definitely categorize Aaron Gordon, Michael Porter as forwards, Zeke Naji as a forward. Who are you really categorizing as a wing? No. Is it Will? Is that it? Is it
closest?
Like, yeah. I think that's it. And so most teams, if they have kind of positional balance, if they have versatility, they have the ability to do a whole bunch of different things. I hope that Denver adds 3 or 4 new bodies into that position group alone. And that means getting 6'5" to 6'7" dudes with long arms that are athletic, that can defend the 1, that can defend the 3, and maybe hit some shots along the way. That's kind of where I'm going as my primary target. And if you fall into that category and it's not that pricey, then I'm definitely trying to get you.
KCP is a name we've heard from folks like us, and folks like us have heard from others, and sure. I think it's makes a lot of sense. He's not a guy that you shoot out of bed in the morning like, KCP, could today be the day? But think back to, I mean, I thought in that Lakers title run, KCP was like maybe the 3rd or 4th most important player on the team.
He was he was really good.
He was
I really just I just keep hearing ICP, the Insane Clown Posse.
Dude, you want to do a segment on that?
So much.
Magnets. How do they work?
What is your favorite Insane Clown Posse song, Dev?
I don't remember any of the titles.
Throw that ass in a circle.
Yeah, it's so good.
That actually could be.
That actually
honestly,
might be right.
legit could be a recent.
Miracles is the only one I'm aware of. As you mentioned, magnets, how do they
How
work?
do they work? What are we talking about?
I don't know. I'm
KCP.
Sorry. Oh, yeah.
Draft wise, Ryan. So everyone says it's best player available. It's best player available. The Nuggets are also in a situation where they're trying to round out that roster with guys you can play and guys you don't have to pay. If the best player available is a guard and a wing you still like is on the board, I mean, do you hope they go in the latter direction?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, there's no doubt. I think there are a couple of guards in this draft, like a Ty Washington from Kentucky or a Kennedy Chandler from Tennessee. Guys that are kind of all up and down the board, but there are a lot of people that like those guys. One of them is 6'3", one of them is 6'0".
Yeah.
And I'm a little bit concerned if Denver's going to add another 6'3" or under guy because
Why?
Why do you think? Faku fan 427 over there.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Those are Brendan's people, dude.
Yeah, no, it's I think one of the because it's about versatility. It's about adding pieces that you didn't have before, and I think that there is a possibility that a wing that they draft could immediately contribute to their group. You don't want that guy to have to contribute to the group, but if there's nobody else on the team that is 6'6", 6'7",
right,
that could defend some threes when, let's say, Michael Porter sits out for, 45 games, it might behoove them to try to get somebody like that, even if that isn't the best player on the board.
Yeah, I think this year is a lot different, and I think exciting times for Denver because they do have to be a lot different than what they've been in the past or what other teams have. Instead of going for best available, I think they actually have to go for a specific, type. Like, you have no choice. It does not matter who is on the board. You go around that. So maybe that means, in the draft, like pushing back a few just because your guy's going to still be there, like where you have those future assets or you just have something to like buy with. But you have to go after a defender. You have to go after a forward or a wing that can actually be a forward as well. So like you need versatility this year. You need to answer defense. Like, I really don't think that there's anything else that you could do. You don't need more scoring. You don't need anything. Like, you need a defender who wants to guard multiple positions. So no matter what, that's
because
what you go
because
after.
I think one of the things that you can say about the front office at that point or ownership at that point is, okay, so you're not serious about competing for a title, because everybody needs defense. Everybody needs somebody that can at least do something on that end, and that was definitely Denver's biggest weakness in these playoffs. They were still able to score, despite the fact that they didn't have Jamal Murray or Michael Porter.
That part is true.
Jokic was able to do it. Like, that's insane.
Yep.
Like, come on now.
He's really good.
And so if you just add another
take
guy
the
that
line.
can capably defend a Klay Thompson or not a Steph Curry, but like
Jordan Poole.
just a Jordan Poole would
Yeah.
be great. A Jordan
Actually
Poole
agree.
defender would be great. That seems reasonable.
Yeah, somebody can stop every attempt to drive the lane.
Congratulations on acquiring your forward stopper. Here are all of the guards you need to beat for the next 3 years. Shout out Nug Life. I asked Andre and Eric this question earlier in the week. Ryan, I'll go to you first, but I want to hear from both of you. Is there, in terms of archetypes, is there an outcome in this draft that just bums you out? Is there a position or a player they take where you go, this isn't helping?
I think an undersized wing. I think that would get me. Just because I really do feel like there has to be other, bigger defenders that has to go after Aaron Gordon or to give him just breaks in that way. Also a guy that is on, a defender that can't shoot. Like, you need a 3 and D guy. You need some type of spacing offensively. You need a guy that when he's on the floor, he's going to be able to score instead of just being a defender, because then that just takes away the spacing from Jokic. So I really do think that an undersized wing would bum me out.
Ryan?
Yeah, I kind of along the same lines. Anybody really under 6'3", anybody, even like 6'4", is probably not the way to go. And I'm being heightist. I'm being definitely
This is disgusting.
Losing respect for
whatever.
you by the second.
But
Yeah.
I do think that it's just important to understand where Denver's strengths on their roster currently are, which is, okay, you've got Jamal Murray, you've got Bones Highland, you've got Monte Morris. All three of those guys are probably going to be freaking good. I don't think you need to add another one.
Right.
If they added a center, I would at least be okay with that, with the understanding that, hey, you have a potentially cheap backup center on line for 4 years. So I could at least talk myself into that. I can't talk myself into another guard.
That's how I feel too. Even though, despite no matter how many guards the Nuggets sign, they still seem to need another one halfway through the season.
Right.
I don't want to see a free agent addition or draft addition.
Yeah, that is the funny thing about the long nature of the NBA season, the war of attrition that we all watch each and every night, is that people get hung up on the idea of who's the starter, who's the this. That's at a certain point you kind of need bodies. But I'm with you. We got holes to fill. We can't be doubling up on our reserves.
You know who doesn't have any holes to fill? The American Raptors. They filled their roster, and it's full of crossover athletes who have found success in sports from all different backgrounds. And now they're coming together right here in the heart of Rugbyville, USA. Glendale, Colorado. I bet you didn't know. Now you do. That's the place to go to learn more about the game, to soak in the game, to play the game. And the Raptors are doing that. They went 5-5 in their first season. Not bad for a bunch of athletes trying a new sport, and they want you to come and see how they improve. These tickets are free. I did not pull up the ad read, so
Hell yeah, dude.
I don't know what the website is. Hang on. I'll give it 2 seconds. Eric, what do you think of rugby? Do you like it?
I like it because it reminds me of football, but it's also different.
That's a great point. Those tickets are free, too, and you can head over to AmericanRaptors.com and grab your free ticket for the upcoming season. But if you can't make the game, AmericanRaptors.com will be streaming all of them from their website. Check it out. And if you really do, for real, want to learn more about rugby, check out the DNVR Rugby podcast hosted by the one and the only Colton Strickler. He does a really good job breaking the game down. I think he reaches out to both legitimate fans of the game and speaks to us laymen as well. I've been on that show. It's a lot of fun. Not the strongest pitch, but check it out. DNVR Rugby podcast on Spotify. Okay, well, we're talking about the draft, fellas. So let's key in and let's get a little more specific. We got Ryan Blackburn in the house. So let's go ahead and get Ryan Blackburn's guys up on the screen. Thank you, super producer Kale.
Look at that.
Ryan, talk to us about some prospects you've fallen in love with or at this point in your research.
First off, why isn't this say Rise Guys?
Oh, that's great. That's,
What the hell's wrong with you, Kale?
That's too bad.
Rise
But,
Guys.
Yeah, he's gonna edit it now.
Regular producer Kale over there.
I think that when I kind of sent over this list, I was looking for wings. I was looking for guys that they must be this tall to ride, and I do think that if you're Denver,
It's a cruel world.
yeah, I know.
Christ.
If you're Denver, there are kinds of different guys that you can go for. One of them, Malaki Branham. He was the first one who was on that list. He was a freshman for Ohio State this year. He played with E.J. Liddell, who is, I think, a junior who is more of a power forward type that a lot of people have mocked at Denver before. But
Just worked out for Denver as well.
Yeah, exactly. Malaki is probably going to go in the lottery. He's a guy that was kind of lower tier in terms of his evaluation in the first round that's risen up draft boards lately. He's a young freshman, very versatile scoring game. I really like the way that he plays. It reminds me a lot of Chris Middleton from an offensive perspective. He can make some good passes. He's very comfortable in all three levels of scoring. And he just seems like a guy who the defense wasn't there quite yet, but he's also 18 for the majority of that time. He'll be 19 when he's drafted. Like, he's a guy that if you don't need somebody immediately, if you're Denver, he's a guy that I can see, okay, down the line, like that could be a really major hit for Denver.
Yeah, with Malaki, first off, yeah, I think he's going to go around the 14, 15-ish. So if he's there at 21, you're going to take him. Like, Nuggets are going to take him no matter what. Ohio State really hasn't had any first-round picks in a long time. I think D'Angelo Russell was like
Greg
the last
Oden?
time. D'Angelo Russell was the last time that they had.
Yes, that's a player. Yes.
Good, Eric.
Yep, that's right.
I mean, and he's young. He's super young, and I think that's what stands out for him. Like, he's super efficient. I think the Chris Middleton comp makes a lot of sense. Just because, like, the scoring instincts are just there. It just comes natural to him. He has the frame. He has the size of everything that you need for Denver, but also a lot of it is offensive. And I think that that's what like kind of scares me away from him, or like at least pushes you in a different direction, because his is going to come in and he's going to want the ball. He's going to, like, I don't feel like he's one of those guys that's going to wait for a year and then try to figure out and become a defensive guy, and that's what Denver's going to need. But, I mean, again, you're going to put him on the floor. He's going to produce, and you're going to want that in a very, very young guy. So, like, it does make sense to have that type of guy and put him on that list.
As far as availability on the board, sounds like it's a bit of a stretch.
Big factor.
But is he that I can't decide if I love or hate doing the show with you.
Yeah, I know.
Oh my God, what was my question, Eric?
I got it.
Is he a guy worth trading up for? Is he a guy worth trading up for?
I doubt it. I honestly doubt it, because I don't think, and I think Dev hit it on the head right there. I think there's a possibility that he looks more like a Malik Beasley, somebody who, offensive-minded, kind of coming into the draft. Athleticism-wise, you kind of hope that he develops into that defensive guy, and maybe he just never does.
Right.
But Malaki, like, there is a definite reason to be excited about him, and there's a reason why he's projected to go in the lottery right now. If he were to fall, I'd be more than happy to take that chance. But 14 or 15, if you're trading up to that point, it doesn't seem like the right use of assets.
Let's move on, Ryan. Talk to us about some other guys.
Yes,
Yeah,
Rise guys.
I need
Who's
to know
Rise
what's on the
number
list.
2's guy?
Oh, hey,
Oh.
look, it's MarJon Beauchamp.
Yeah, we talked about him, but let's get into it again.
Are we sure it's Beauchamp, not Beauchamp?
I think Beauchamp, like Adam Murray says. I think Beauchamp is a very interesting piece for Denver, because he's a little bit more ready. He's 21 years old, who played with the G League Ignite. I know you guys have kind of profiled him a little bit, but the thing that really stands out to me, there are very few players with his frame and his athleticism and his wingspan that suck when they're drafted at that point. If he is a guy that you believe in as, okay, he's going to be able to shoot at least comfortably, then you take a chance on that guy, knowing that he's going to be a good, solid defender that you can play 2, 3, or 4, very versatile, could probably switch on to ones and be perfectly fine. I like that style of player, and think that kind of guy with that kind of versatility, who can switch and do a bunch of different things, is where Denver should be living in this draft. And if they can get a guy like MarJon Beauchamp at 21, that would be my first target in all likelihood.
Chad, sound off. I know a lot of you like him as well.
This is the guy that like went to like 6 different high schools, though, right? Like he was with Michael Porter Jr. at one point, in time, and playing under like Brendan Roy. So like he's been around like for a long time, and he was like one of the first people that did that MBA or high school to MBA. Like they gave you a year to just kind of work with the trainers and then try to go into it. So I think there's a lot of things that just make it hard to see how good he truly is, because he went to like a JUCO or something like that and dominated, like put up 30 points a game in like 13 or 12 contests or something like that. I feel like the physical like attributes all there, perfect.
Yep.
Like everything about him seems perfect on paper. Big, shoot it off the dribble, super athletic, everything you need, especially 19 years old. Like he'll come right in and be a fit that you could play defensively. And I think that this is the one that makes the most sense, because he has that defensive, like the instincts to actually do everything and want to be a defender. And you put him on the floor and good things that happen. So I think that it makes sense to have a guy like this that can defend multiple positions and has those traits. So I would think of like a Jaden McDaniels if I had to.
That's a great comp. He kind of strikes me as a guy that knows that he's going to be most likely a role player star, like somebody who's not going to be a first or second option, but has the potential to get up to a third option on a championship team or somebody of that nature. And I'm very excited for guys like that, because he knows how to move off ball. He knows how to get out in transition. He knows that most of the time his impact is going to start on the defensive end and then hopefully move to the offensive end after that. That's what you're looking for with this kind of pick.
This is a guy who I haven't heard anyone say, right. Everyone is at least considering this pick, and I think he's a guy we'll probably.
He's 6'6".
Yeah. He is a guy. We've looked at a few, and he's one that I
sure.
definitely am interested in for sure.
Speaking of guys, Ryan.
Oh, Rise Guy 3.
Rise Guys.
Do we have any more guys?
Wendell Moore Jr. is very interesting. I have, for the life of me, zero idea why he's projected to be a second-round pick. He is a player who struggled for the first couple years of his college career at Duke, He was a highly recruited high school player. Ultimately, it wasn't working out initially, but in his third season, his junior year, he looks like a guy who can do everything you want at the shooting guard position. Every single thing. He's got size for the position. He can shoot it, both off the catch, off the dribble. He can pass, and he's a freaking awesome defender. That's one thing that people need to know about Wendell Moore Jr. He's a defensive playmaker who shoots the gaps, who has 7-foot wingspan at 6'5", and is going to poke the ball free on steals. He's going to have chase down blocks, and he's athletic enough. He just had like a 39-inch vertical or something at the combine. Like, this guy knows how to play.
Yeah, he's 19 years old, right? Like,
he's 20. He's a young junior.
20. Yeah, so yeah, he's 20 years old, and also, I mean, that scares you away. But also, he's had 3 years of being under Coach K. Like, that's a lot different than just having years played. He got better every single year. What you see from a guy like that, this is a guy that came in as a McDonald's All-American that kind of got pushed back down to earth and then had to work his way up and decided to keep coming back. He checks off every single box that you need for Denver. You need a scorer or a shooter. You need an athletic guy. You need a guy that can play multiple positions but also defend multiple positions, and he does that. Super athletic, over-the-rim type of player that's going to like lock in defensively and know he's coming in to work from day one. He's never going to be the star for the team, and he's okay with that. Yeah. And I think that you need that type of guy, especially with that type of size.
Yeah, he kind of looks like a bigger Gary Harris.
There's a lot of Gary to him, except Gary had a 6'8" wingspan. His is over 7 foot.
And that was the thing with Gary, who is, as much as I miss him right now with all the guards Denver's played, we also can't forget in that same postseason that he saved the Utah series, he couldn't play in the conference finals because there was no matchup for him.
Right.
Because he's not versatile enough. So that, yeah, like bigger Gary Harris, longer Gary Harris, chef's kiss.
Yeah. Exactly.
That sounds perfect.
And this is kind of the idealized version of Gary Harris that a lot of people were thinking, because back in the 2017-18 season, Gary was starting to do a whole bunch of things off the dribble too. And really creating for himself, really doing a whole bunch of different things. I like the idea of Wendell Moore. I have no idea why he is not projected as a first-round pick right now. And if I were Denver, I would be very comfortable picking him at 21. Very comfortable.
From that standpoint, not necessarily the player comp, but that sounds very Herb Jonesy. Just like,
exactly.
Why is
there
this?
There is a lot of, hey, this guy was a 3-year college guy. He's a little bit older than some of the freshmen that are coming in. Is he a guy that slipped through the cracks? Is he a guy that has the comfortability to be able to defend at a high level with a lot of these guys? I think that there is a very strong chance that he immediately comes in and is an impactful player.
That was a good list of guys right there.
Man, Rise guys.
Dudes love just naming other dudes.
Dudes love dudes, man.
Do you want to go name our top dudes?
I thought you were going to say Top Gun. Let's just talk about Top Gun.
Oh, yeah.
Plenty of dudes in that.
We saw Top Gun last night, and then Brendan came dressed like Top Gun today.
I was extremely inspired by that Miles Teller fit. Let's rank the top dudes in Top Gun.
Yeah, number one dude. Ooh. Is Tom Cruise the number one dude in Top Gun?
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's got
top
right?
guy, Top Gun.
Yeah, right. He is. First of all, Tom Cruise is that character.
Okay,
like in real life.
Who's the second dude in Top Gun?
Iceman.
In the original Top Gun?
We're talking the original.
No, we're talking Maverick, dude.
Oh,
Top Gun.
No, we're talking about the good one.
Okay, yeah. Whoever, I think Hangman. Hangman's probably. I think that dude's dope.
I think Kale is a Hangman vote as well. Yeah. Miles Teller did it.
I go Rooster. I go Rooster all day and twice on Sunday.
God, I wish I could grow that Rooster stash. Every day I wake up, I remember that I can't.
Yeah, we were watching the movie last night in the theater. Brendan and I hang out from time to time.
So
just kidding. This was the first time ever.
Nope, it's happened more than once.
I looked over and I was watching Rooster on, which is Miles Teller with a funny shirt and a mustache on screen. I look over at Brendan. I'm like, am I in Top Gun? Like, am I watching this in the Top Gun hangar with Rooster right now? I felt like it was an immersive experience watching Top Gun with you.
It was an immersive experience watching Top Gun with you.
Why? Just because I made comments the whole time?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's
right.
So you're that guy in the movie theater?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
I was going to ask to come. I do not want to go with you.
Yeah, you do.
You do. You should come with us.
Tell him it's fun. Tell him it's fun.
It actually was fun, though.
Let's go.
It's a great movie to watch with your dad.
Real quick.
Which I'm sure you've got.
Wait a minute.
Oh, God.
Man, I took a dark turn from
Well, I guess Eric's out. Really quick, Ryan, who's winning the finals? And is there anything interesting to you about this finals matchup?
Oh, there's plenty interesting, right? Like these two teams are very unique in the way that they play, but also they kind of do a lot of the same things. So I think it's probably the Warriors because I think the Celtics, they're probably running out of gas here. They've had 2 straight 7-game series.
A little banged up.
But they're really good. I think I picked them to win the finals at the beginning of the year. Or not the beginning of the playoffs.
Sure.
And they haven't done anything to really dispel that other than nearly crapping the bed at the end of this last game.
Yeah, they almost lost. That was like tough. They really were one Jimmy Butler decision away from going home.
It was wild.
And you know who's better than the Heat?
The Warriors.
Yeah, by a lot.
That's true. They are.
This has been Basketball Corner with Eric Weedham. Hey,
I mean, sometimes it's not as complicated as we want to make it.
Strong agreed. My DraftKings account agrees with you on this particular series. I want to thank Dev for hanging out with me this week. I know it's not easy when he's working. That's it. That's the end of the compliment. Eric's here. And Ryan, thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, man.
Happy for you. Proud of you. Grateful for your appearance today. Chat, grateful for you as always. We love you. Go see Top Gun. Let's go Nuggets.
Let's go.
Bye, guys.